Okay, I wasn't sure how bright it was going to be with the natural light. Actually, I've got a light on in the room as well, but that's okay. We'll just go with this light. Okay, so hello. Today I want to talk to you, I wonder if you can guess, about relationships. So this is not a video about people who are single and looking for those relationships. These are people who are in relationships that, you know, want to know whether or not the relationship you're in is something that you're proud of, or something that you would like to work on, or something that you're probably better off without. Now, I'm not here to be the type of person to break you away from somebody you really love. I just want to film a video basically to give you an idea of what relationships can look like from the outside and how we see them from the inside. And sometimes this sort of plays a role in whether or not we've actually made the right choice, and whether or not we probably could do a lot better. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is the relationship that I'm in, I'm really happy about. Now, I'm not here to boast, because relationships are hard. It doesn't matter what sort of level or station you're at, okay? It really doesn't matter, because if you know, or if you have ever been in the same room as Greg and I, throughout our whole relationship, you would not, you know, you would find things in it that would be alarming, and you would find things in it that are really normal, you know, really great. And I think that's what we have to understand, is that no relationship is perfect, but there are relationships that are a lot better for you than others. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you about the ones that I've had. Okay, so the first relationship I had was when I was about 19, 20 years old, okay? So I had left home by that stage. I was old enough, I mean, even when I was at home, I was old enough to have a boyfriend. There's no real age restriction when you have one. I think it's really when the time is right for you, when you have less priorities, and really when you know that you haven't got somebody hanging around your shoulder basically telling you what to do. Okay. The house is talking to me. So when I first had my relationship, what made it so much easier was the fact that I was living with my aunt. So she's a family member and great person, but it also meant that I had more time to be independent. When, excuse me, the fridge is talking now. When I was back at home with my parents, having a boyfriend was a lot harder, because I had that commitment with them. You know, I had to be there with them for lunch, dinner, breakfast, you name it, and spend a fair amount of social time with them. If I wasn't, I could go to my room and watch movies. That's what I used to spend a lot of my time after I finished school doing. Apart from working at childcare, I would just spend time watching movies or writing a book. That's sort of what I was into at that time, and really it hasn't changed so much. I think just now I have a business, so more of a responsibility. So when I had my first boyfriend, I met him online. And to be honest, I've met all my boyfriends online. I'm not afraid to admit that, because even though 2 of the relationships didn't work out, they were what I would call serious ones. For the amount that they were a lot longer than, you know, say a 1 week stand, if that makes sense. You know how you hear about people who fall in love with somebody for 1 week and then it doesn't work, or, you know, these were months, you know, month-long relationships. So anyway, the first one I had, and it's taken me this long to actually do a video about it, because the reason I want to make a video is, as I said earlier, is that I want those people who are in one already to understand what the relationship is to you, and whether or not you really are genuinely happy about it. Because sometimes as women, as long as we're adored, as long as we're given a bit of loving every now and again, we're really good at coping, but sometimes we don't see something else that other people may see from the outside. That's not to say that they know better. Sometimes they're too afraid to say something, or they do say something, and you start to think that they're your enemies, and really there's something that you're not quite seeing. Anyway, I'm not trying to get really deep and meaningful in this, but it probably will be, because it's a relationship, and relationships are one of those things that I feel that I know how to talk about because I've been through them. And once you've had the experience, it makes it a lot easier to talk about relationships. So the first one I met online, and therefore that was one of the things that I had been taught not to do. When I was living at home, meeting people online was definitely a no-no. And this is not to say that for you out there watching this, especially if you are somebody who's watching this and you're single and you're looking for that special man or that special woman, there's nothing to say that you can't go online and find somebody, because I am living proof that it works. But just keep in mind that some people are looking for certain things, and if you don't know what you're looking for and you just sort of happen to come across somebody, it can be definitely a danger zone, and you just want to keep yourself safe. It's just one of those things. So Hamish was 19, no, Hamish was 22. He was a little bit older than me, if I can remember. Gosh, it's going back a bit. And he, to me at the time, was really gorgeous. He was tall, and he had muscles, not the muscles that pop out and make you look like you're on steroids. He had a decent figure, and I was very much attracted to the way he looked. Keep in mind though, that was the time when I was living with Sarah, and Sarah, so in my last video I mentioned Sarah having Asperger's and being a housemate of mine. Lovely girl, but really hard to live with. Anyway, she came with me to meet him because she was really overprotective about it, and fair enough, I asked her to help me out anyway. Sorry about that. So she came to meet him, and it was fine. We went bowling. She brought her dog as well, Morgan. Morgan was her companion dog, and it was just, I guess it was just one of those let's meet up as a group sort of thing and see what this guy is really like. Sarah's not really an intimidating person, so I didn't mind having her. I mean, if there was something that wasn't quite right, she would have said something, but she genuinely thought he was nice. And to be honest, he was nice. He was nice, but that was really it. There was nothing really more to say. Anyway, so, well, basically, we went out for about 3 months. 3 months we were together. 3 months, it went pretty strong. I mean, when I say that, we would see each other almost every day. But when one day we came home after I'd had a movie at his place, and and he told me he couldn't do it anymore. So keeping in mind that I'd met his parents, I knew that they were in a really hard situation. What Hamish really wanted was to buy them a house, which I think is lovely, because they were in a lot of debt. He was in a lot of debt, and they were trying to get out of that so they could have a better lifestyle, not having to owe people. I mean, you have debt, doesn't matter what sort of situation you're in, but I guess in their situation they were really struggling. Now the issue here was he definitely had a thing for poker games and gambling. So even though I started off saying he was nice, you have to understand that people can be nice, but they may have baggage, and that was one of his things, was gambling. He was good at the games he played, he'd win money, but yeah, not so good in the way that he owed somebody $3,000. We didn't really sit down and talk about it. It was just not something that we did, which made it a little bit tricky. I think that he was hiding things from me like that, and I think he also had a little bit of a commitment issue and a little bit of a communication issue, because I know that there was a time when he came over and I said to him, I really want to sit down and talk about things, and I've never done this for anybody before, but I actually wrote down a couple of pointers about things that we need to talk about, and he was freaked out about it. And keep in mind, this was the first relationship, serious one, that I'd ever been in, so I really didn't know you know, how to work at it, but I was trying really hard on my part, you know, to understand where he was coming from. So it started getting trickier after the 3 months, and I think that's when he decided he wanted to break up with me. And I don't even remember, like, I think the feeling I had was sort of like, oh, you know, I didn't really know what to feel, and I was a little bit surprised and shocked all in the same day. So it actually took me a bit of time to grieve. I took a little while. Maybe it was like the second or the third day that I was just sobbing because I knew I couldn't message him anymore, and I blocked his number because I knew that if I kept his number with me and heard from him, I'd get excited and I'd get, you know, yeah, I guess I'd get really excited to hear from him because I still loved him, you know, at the age of 20 or whatever. I still had feelings for him. Anyway, 5th day, I heard from him, and he said that he asked me how I was, and it was really strange because I was actually at an outing with the childcare centre that I worked at, with all the adults, all the teachers, and I just told one of my friends that he and I had broken up. So he's asking me how I am, and I said to the friend that I was talking to before, what's going on, like what's going through his head? And she said, well, ask him. And I thought, well, I don't really, you know, want to, because I thought it had ended. Excuse me, but my hands are really dry right now. So I got into the conversation with him, and he wanted me back. He realized that he had made a really big mistake letting me go, because he was really hurting and he wanted me back. And I really didn't know how to deal with that, because I was sort of like kind of happy because he wanted me back, but I was kind of like not sure if I wanted him back, but I didn't know how to say no. Anyway, I called my mum about it, because my mum was always one of those people at the time, if I was running into a problem, she would be somebody that I could talk to about it, because she might understand. Anyway, she said, I'm really happy for you, and if that's what you want, that's what you want. So that was really tricky, but I took him back. I just didn't really know, as I said, how to say no, but I felt like I needed him too. So I took him back, and it must have been at least another 3 months going through things, realizing then that actually I don't know, I was just finding it tough at childcare. I was finding it tough knowing that my dad was really sick at the time. My mum had called me while I was at work, letting me know that dad wasn't doing so well, and she just wanted me to know. And at the time, I really didn't know how bad he was, because I guess mum was really good at hiding things from me, like making me think things were okay. But I had a feeling that it wasn't the best, but I just didn't know to what extent. So I called and I said to her, look, I'll come over. And I was really appreciative that Hamish had said, well, you know, you need to go, you got to go. He wasn't going to come with me because he was wanting to stay for his parents in case they needed him, because believe it or not, his mum had cancer. She wasn't doing so well, and my dad had cancer and he wasn't doing so well, and they were in Young, and my dad was in Perth with my mum at the time. So I flew over there. I flew over for a month. I let go of my job to go and help my dad out, and I said to my mum, look, if this job wants me back, if I'm really good at it, they'll have me back. It's okay, you know, don't worry about it. This is more important to me. Keeping in mind that there was a moment, and I'm going to mention this to you because it was really, really horrible, but there was a lady, and I'm smiling because it was horrible, and I can either get really angry about it or I can laugh at how stupid she was. But I'd said to the people at the centre that I was going to leave because my dad was really sick, and uncaring and like not even objective, like it was just a really nasty sort of way of responding to what I said. One of the ladies working there, and I'm not going to say her name, but anyway, it was similar to the words of oh, and once he's dead, what are you going to do, or something like that. And I thought, how horrible, how can you say that? You know, he's sick, but I don't know what extent it is, and it's not really your business, and you know, he might live through it. I just found that really cruel. Anyway, I told Hamish about it, and he understood. Well, no, having his mum with cancer as well, he said I would have punched her in the face, and I felt like that, but I didn't. I just said I'm not sure, because really I wanted to hurt her myself. And then anyway, yeah, I went over to Perth for a month to look after dad. No, he wasn't doing a good job, but he needed a bit of support, and that's what I was there for. So I got back, and well, I didn't stay there any longer, even though my sister and her family were coming over. They wanted me to stay so that they could see me, but I was really missing home, and I was all over the place. And you know, I guess I'm one of those people that deals with things by running away from them. Sometimes I get myself back together once I run away, and really that's how much time I was really going to be there anyway. I was ready to come back home, and I was given guilt because, you know, I wasn't staying any longer to wait for my sister. And I wasn't given guilt from my mum or dad, it was really more my sister. She made me feel bad that I wasn't staying long enough. But anyway, I didn't stay. I got back because I felt like I owed Hamish some time, because I knew he was struggling with his mother, and I was struggling to believe that my dad was not doing well, and I just needed to get away from it all. So I came back home, and it was my birthday. That was another thing. It was my birthday, and I had like tons of presents on the table, and I got nothing from Hamish, because apparently he thought his present was better, but we won't go into that. Yeah, I guess he was quite selfish in that way. Maybe I was a little bit selfish too, for leaving everyone in Perth, but I had spent some really good quality time with my dad, and a couple of weeks after that he passed away, and it was really hard, because I could have stayed, but I didn't. He had his friend there, and my mum was there, and he was well looked after. That's a plus. He was really looked after back in Perth. I remember talking to him on the phone though, before it happened, and he couldn't talk. So I was talking to him. Sorry, it's just really hard. I was talking to him, letting him know that I was on my way. Yeah, I was letting him know that I was on my way, and he couldn't say anything. I got there, I was there for the funeral, and I hid away in the closet, in his closet. I just missed him so much. But we're really not talking about that. That was just like part of my life story. Anyway, weird enough, you know, Hamish wasn't, well, doesn't matter about that, but he wasn't at the funeral either. A few weeks after that, or months, can't remember exactly what date it was, because it just isn't important, but I got back to Canberra and I dumped Hamish, because I had been through a fair bit with Dad, and I loved him to bits, still do. I really thought that Hamish could have given me a lot more. Letting me go was understandable, but he really didn't try and bend over backwards to give me support, and if anything, he was more of a distraction in my life. And I mean, I don't regret that. I just know that I was better off without him. And I remember he was going to see me one morning, and that was the morning that I decided I'd had enough of him, because he was into fast cars and beach babes and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not saying that all guys aren't into it, because my husband will still watch, you know, things like Fast and Furious like his brother does, but not, I don't know, Hamish was a different guy. And I realized that that day I did not see a future with him. I really, even though we talked about children, and it wasn't really in person anyway, it was more like texting, because he hated calling, he hated talking on the phone. So I let him go. I didn't want him in my life anymore, because it wasn't going anywhere. And to be perfectly honest, he wanted to buy a house first for his parents before us, and it wasn't like it was important for him, yes, but he just didn't really seem to understand that, you know, we had to have a place too, like, you know what I mean? And he still had to pay off this debt. So he really was in a rut, and that was his own fault. He put himself into it and he had to get himself out again. So that was my first relationship, and I just want you guys to know that if you're in a relationship like that, there's nothing to say that it's not what makes you happy, because maybe it is what makes you happy. To me, it was a really big distraction of what was going on in my life. I was still there for my dad, so it wasn't as if I didn't care about him at all. I cared about him the month I was with him alone, and thank goodness, you know, I had that month with him. But I was also feeling quite broken because I didn't really have a man with me to give me support as well. I was trying to be strong for my mum. I was trying to be strong for my dad. Mum was the strongest because she was his carer, and she had to, you know, let go of her emotions, because believe it or not, it probably would have killed her. And unfortunately, that's what tends to happen when you're a carer. You have to tell yourself a lot that it's not it's not really them that's acting up, it's what's hurting them that's making them act the way they are, like forgetting who she was one time. And so after that, I think it was about a year or so after, I gave myself a bit of time to breathe, but I still knew I just wanted that special someone. And when you're a single person, like, it's great to have that time to yourself, and I definitely know what that feels like. I still remember to this day what it was like to be single. But when you are single, you enjoy the day of having fun, but at night time, it's just that time when you just really want that one person just to tell them how your day is, just to share with them what things you're you know feeling about, you know. And because I'm a very emotional person, I like to be able to emotionally connect with someone, and Greg is like that. Anyway, before he came along, I met Aiden, and Aiden was my second boyfriend. Again, I'd met him online, and it wasn't a worry for me. I did actually meet him by myself, and I met him in a clothes store. Yes, a clothes store. Really, by hearing that, you should be able to guess what he was. So I met him in Target, because that's where we'd arranged to meet, and we started talking about you know, our interests and everything, and I said I was looking for clothes. Didn't really know what clothes I was looking for. I just wanted to blow some money on something, being the way I was. Battery is about to die, so I'm gonna have to continue this a bit later.